Coming up on the Sell Your Book podcast.
Is blogging dead? Blogging never is, never will be dead. And ownership of your content. Yes, there have been so many platforms. Remember what blackplanet.com, MySpace, all these platforms. Then they came Facebook, Meta, Twitter, X, Clubhouse. I mean, all these free platforms can be taken in an instant, and all your content is gone, 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 gone. And if someone does a Google search, your blog post will pop up.
Hey,
not a Facebook post.
That's a great point. Your content within these platforms, I think the only platform where you might show up is Medium and LinkedIn and Reddit. And guess what these platforms are? Text-based writing platforms. But anyway, we're not going to be on our soapbox. Yes, we will.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. And if you have content, if you are an author and your book is sitting on a shelf like mine did, that's when you turn it into what? A podcast.
Welcome to Sell Your Book. It's the podcast for existing or aspiring self-published business book authors who want to know what's working right now to help you sell more books, get more clients from your books, and expand your opportunities. If this is your vibe, you gotta subscribe. Now, let's get into today's conversation.
Welcome to this episode of the Sell Your Book podcast. You know when I noticed? I never introduced myself. My name is Denise Renee. So now my final episode of the season, I finally introduced myself. I think we're 15 episodes at chat. I don't know what episode, whatever number it says down there, that's the number episode that we're at. Okay. So as you know, I am always excited to talk to each of my guests, which is, I think, a great way to start. And one of the things that I've enjoyed over these initial episodes here is being able to highlight some professional Black women. Because, there's something about us. We finna come to you with the accolades, with the awards. We bring it all, okay? And so my guest today is no exception, okay? So I'm really excited to talk to, and listen, y'all leave me alone, okay? Because 50, I enjoy being 50. I'm very grateful, but 50 be showing her behind sometimes, and I'd be like, girl, I need you to sit down. Just go sit down. All right. So this is what we got to do. All righty. So today I am speaking with Miss Antionette Blake. And let me tell you something right off rip, okay? Antionette Blake is a multi-award winning blogger and recipient of the Entrepreneur of the Year Award from the Men of Psi Iota chapter of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated in Dover, Delaware. Accolades, y'all. Accolades. We come with them. So Antionette is a branding and social media communications manager, an educator, and a sought-after professional speaker. As the owner of A. Blake Enterprises, social media management and consulting since 2015, she helps business owners and organizations with creating and executing their content and branding strategies. She also coaches them on how to include podcasting as a part of their strategy. And let me tell you, she is a champion podcaster, okay? Antionette is a champion in her community and a proud member of her sorority, Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated. Antionette is also the ambassador for the Newcastle County Chamber of Commerce. As an educator, she has served as an adjunct instructor at the Delaware Technical Community College, teaching others how to get found by maximizing their social currency. Now, she is a prolific content creator, a woman after my own heart, okay? She has created for 2 blogs, Del Blogger and D Diva Deals. Antionette also hosts 2 weekly podcasts, Out and About with Antionette and Boomers and Beyond with the Delaware Blogger. Last but not least, Antionette has authored 2 instructional books to help people learn the tools of their trade and advance their skills in both social media, marketing, and podcasting, which is, why we're here. It's all about the books. All right. So she has written Basic Blogging Tips for Beginners and Podcasting Your Purpose Resource Guide. And she's up to edition 2. And she has also contributed to other collaborative books. I just found that out like 2 minutes ago. So, with all these accolades, I need you guys to put your hands together for my guest, Miss Antionette Blake. How are you doing?
Denise Renee, thank you so very much. I'm excited to be here with you on the Sell Your Book podcast. Thank you.
Well, thank you for coming on. I also have to say thank you for having me on your show recently. Oh, good Lord. My brain is 50. She's showing her age. Okay. Out and About. That's it. So thank you so much for having me on recently on the Out and About podcast. And it's so funny because you put up a clip. I'm like, that clip sounds so incriminating. It's horrible. But it came out of my mouth. And I think when I listened back to it, I heard it and I was like, I think I thought about it, but the words kind of flew out of my mouth. And I didn't think of a different way to say it.
But Denise Renee, that to me was a good teaser. Like,
it is
adult books. Oh my God, what's an adult book? And though, like you keep saying, like you 50, but girl, I'll be 63 next month. So those of us that are of a particular age, when we hear the words adult books, because that's what we were reading, right? We were literally like reading in the bed under the covers, adult books. So to me, that was the hook, right? I like that. But I did add another one for you, the upcoming one. But that hook, I loved it. But you said Flowers in the Attic. If people listened, they should have just listened.
Right. So what I meant, to give context, what I was saying was that at 13 years old, I was reading books that were way above what I should have been reading. I should have been reading Sweet Valley High and Nancy Drew. But like I had read those when I was like 9 or 10. Mm-hmm. So I was literally in just the grown-up section of the library pulling books. And one of the authors that I loved when I was a young teenager was V.C. Andrews. But her stuff is crazy. It is crazy. But I just loved her storytelling.
Yes.
I was reading grown-up books as, a young kid. So because
adult books you were reading.
I was reading adult books, but not them adult books. Get your mind out the gutter.
Get your head out the gutter. So that's why that was the hook to get people to come and listen to the entire episode. And I invite everyone to listen to our interview because it was fun. Awesome. Yes.
And now we're about to have fun on the Sell Your Book podcast. So I know I gave a big introduction and read the scroll, baby. Okay, the scroll of accolades and experiences. But tell us a little bit about how you got into doing what you are doing.
Thank you, Denise Renee. I appreciate, first of all, let me say thank you again. We were put together by our mutual friend, Daryl Spears. He said she would be a great guest on your show, which you turned out to be a wonderful guest on my show. And then in that same vein, you asked me to be on your show. So thank you so very much. So to make a long story short, I actually did start my first blog in 2012, divadeals.com, fashion and fun after 50. And, without giving your listeners a whole lot of boring details, the reason why I started writing that, was after the death of my grandmother, who had raised my sister and myself, who I ended up raising. For 16 years, she lived with us and she transitioned at the age of 98. Wow. She lived a great life with just age that, that took her out. And Denise Renee, I held her hand as she transitioned. That was the most beautiful experience I've ever had. People say death is scary and spooky, and I guess it can be depending on the circumstances, but she left this world in a peaceful manner, just the way she lived her life in a peaceful manner. And so, she was my everything. I had my boys and my husband, and we, had this house and all that. But after she transitioned, I found a lot of time on my hands. And I was like, what am I going to do at that time? And I loved to write, literally. Writing was like something I've been doing since I was like probably 3 years old. Like you said, you were drawing when you had, when a kid with the crayon in your hand. But and social media was new. I laugh when people say, when I say that when Facebook came out, was the Facebook. Like I was like, what is the Facebook, right?
Right.
So I started writing. I started doing fashion and fun after 50 because I had all this extra time on my hand. And I would literally go to different events and then come home and write about it and post it. I would go into the grocery stores with coupons and take pictures with a DSLR camera. I mean, the smartphones weren't as smart as they are today. So I literally was taking pictures. So if you go back to dedvdeals.com, the stuff is still there. I mean, I don't write to it, but you can see the transition, right? So
aren't DSLR cameras huge?
Well, no, I still have them in the closet, believe it or not. But they were awkward, like literally you're taking pictures, right? While you're holding a coupon and you're in the store. People at that time, people would look at you strange because taking pictures and first of all, there was no such thing as a selfie then, but taking pictures in the store, people thought, I know, imagine doing that with the camera. Oh, and it's so funny because even with the little Kodaks, no one was taking selfies. They were like, everybody get together and take a picture. So so I started my blog and I started blogging in 2012, and then podcasting came along later, and that was like about 5 years later, and that bug bit me. So I love blogging. I love podcasting. I was discovered as a blogger. I started teaching others how to blog. And the reason why I wrote my first book, Basic Blogging Tips for Beginners, was, as you alluded to, or as you stated in the introduction, I was an adjunct instructor at Del Tech Community College. And then the world changed and everything shut down. So those in-person classes were gone. And so I said, you know what, I have, with us, we have content. We are content creators. Like you said, Black women, we have content, girl. All of us have content. We all know something. We all are good at something. And it's just a matter of getting it out there. So as a writer, the best way to share my blogging tips was to take all that stuff that I was teaching and put it in a book. And self-publishing. I wasn't going to find a copywriter, and I made mistakes, and I wasn't going to find a proofreader. I made major mistakes. But, I said, you know what, this will work. And then when the world opened up again and I was back out and about, a short book, as you know, sometimes can be much better than a business card. And so I would literally give these away like business cards. And that was so cool because, you're getting your brand out there. So I did that. Then I started podcasting. I love podcasting. I started teaching podcasting. So when you start teaching, you put together content. So I started with edition 1, edition 2. This takes you from beginning to end. And as a coach who has a 5 to 6 week course, that's what this book is. And you actually get this book when you sign up. So this takes you from idea to actually recording. So that is my story, and I'm sticking with it.
Girl, you just... Now, usually I ask my guest questions and we get to the... She's like, boom, let me give you the entire story right here, right now. So we're going to run it back. And there's lots of things that I want to go back and pick out and expand. But I mean, listen, I love it. All right. So before I zoom in on the books, I'd love to know a little bit about your career before you got into, blogging. So you did say that you've been just a writer, writing from the time that you were young. Where did that take you in terms of a career? How did you get to being an adjunct professor?
That's a great question. I actually received my BS degree in elementary education from the Delaware State College at the time, which is now the Delaware State University. So I received my BS degree, and I taught elementary school. And Denise Renee, back then, the money, as it is now, was bad, like really, really bad. My salary, I will keep this number in my head and I will publish this number forever, was $12,145 a year. That is what I was living on. So I was teaching school during the day,
What
working
year
at
was this?
Sears at night.
What year was that?
The
When
year
you
was
first started?
1983.
Now, let me tell you something. I got a bachelor's degree. I'm a double major in English and music, and then I took an 11-month degree master's program. And masters are usually 2 years, not 11 months. But I did an 11-month program
Wow.
at the new school in New York, got my teaching degree, jumped into the classroom, and after all that education, this was 96, 28. It didn't change that much in 10 years.
No, in 10 years. I mean, yeah,
Horrible.
it was horrible. And like you said, I need to make money because I had bills. I had an apartment. I moved on campus for 1 year and then I had my own apartment. I had a car. I had to eat, right? And things like that. So I did go back to New York to get a part-time job in the summer, thinking I could, catch up on my bills, because there was one thing that was very prevalent on campus was those credit card companies that would sign you up like
Oh my God.
that.
Predatory.
So I graduated with a BS degree in elementary education and a boatload of credit card debt. So I had to pay it. I had to pay it. And so I went back to New York and I got a job at a temp agency as the temp coordinator. And when it was time to go back, to teach school again, they said, Antionette, stay, we'll double your salary if you stay. And I was like, you ain't saying no.
Stay less. Go where? You can always get a job as a teacher, okay?
Thank you very much. Yes. And I stayed, but my aunt at the time, God bless her soul, she was like, if you're gonna stay, you've given up, you went to college, because I was the first to have graduated from college, in my generation of all my cousins and stuff. So they said, if you're gonna stay here, because they were all excited when I graduated, everybody came for the graduation. But if you're gonna stay, you might as well get a real job, not just as a receptionist at a temp agency, even though my salary was double. So I ended up with IBM as a secretary. Now, I took typing. This was back in the day when typing was a course in high school.
Yes.
I took typing. I wasn't a great typist, but it wasn't, it was just like I took the test. I went through all of that. No, I did not get the job. But when I finally told my aunt that I didn't get the job, she said, well, why didn't you tell me? I know somebody. And sisters, that's what it's all about. We know somebody. When we know somebody, we got to open that door for somebody else, because you never know, right? And she said, I know somebody because I've been with IBM for years. Let me give her a go. And she was a Black woman who worked for IBM. And they pulled my application. They said, well, come on in. We'll give you a basic, job as a secretary. And I was a secretary in middle and new management school. And that was where all the new managers would come in for training, a week of training. And they had an opportunity to listen to speakers on a particular day. And I used to stand in the back of the room and listen to these speakers: Louis Timberlake, Les Brown, all these amazing speakers. Speaking of Les Brown, I'll talk about this. I was like, that's what I want to do. Now, I didn't know at that time, this was 83, 84, that I would be teaching, standing up in front of people, talking and sharing. So to answer your question, starting as a teacher, I've always loved teaching. I played teacher when I was a kid, but then going and watching and listening others teach was that bug that bit me to say, hey, I'm going to take all that and I'm going to wrap that up. And I spent 32 years with IBM, laid off twice. That second layoff, when they decided that they were going to cut my salary literally in half, because things were different, and give me the work of 3 people, like young people telling me this, like, and I'm looking at them like, are you kidding me? I had 2 kids, I had a mortgage, I had a family. I mean, I was like, nah, give me my package.
Check this.
I took my package, my layoff, my vacation, my 401. I took it all.
Took it
And I
all.
said, you know what? This blogging thing, which I was doing, on the side, I was teaching on the side. I mean, I would work all day and then come home at night or weekends or whatever. So God was laying that plan. I was laying a plan, and I was using what not only was my passion, but my purpose. And I started writing and teaching and writing. And I'm going to tell you, I applied for jobs, but Denise Renee, no one would hire me. I was 55 years old and never got a call back.
Now let's pause.
32 years in corporate
Oh,
America.
wait, hold on. Pause.
No call back.
Pause. Listen, because the ageism is real, okay? And it's so interesting. I just, like last month or so, I wrote an article and I posted it on LinkedIn, and it was, getting some traction there about, and I just shared a story. Like last year in 2023, I was, I had put my business on pause, and I was just, I was in a different headspace in 2023, not gonna lie. But I was looking for a job because I was like, okay, well, if we're not taking on clients, we gotta pay these bills somehow. And I was looking for a job all year long, and it was such a frustrating situation. And I was like, okay, I know I have the experience to do why am I not getting, like, why am I getting close and then not getting the job? And I'm like, before I had to think, well, is it because I'm a woman and they prefer a man? Is it because I'm Black and they prefer somebody white or anybody else but a Black woman? And now I got to put on the fact, you're fitting to be 50, girl. Is that what it is? And I wrote an article about it. And because sadly, ageism is real. And now my generation is, I guess you're a younger boomer, and I'm like right smack in the middle of Gen X, and we're starting to feel this because we're entering our 50s, and it's like, and corporate America has been contracting since the 80s. I mean, I remember IBM in the 80s, I was a kid, but IBM was like Google, like what Google is now and what Facebook is now. IBM was the ish. You wanted to be at IBM, but they stayed laying off, stayed contracting. And now with AI and things like that, as things just keep contracting, and now they're really looking for specialists. I think what you're doing, and even in what I do, in being able to help people to create a space for themselves, is pivotal. So pick up your story, but I just wanted to really pause and dig in on that ageism and knock somebody out over it.
I mean, and that's what I want you guys to really think about, because you have an opportunity in today's environment with everything from AI, to Google, to, social media. I mean, really use that towards your advantage, because sometimes it is ageism, sometimes it's sexism, sometimes it's racism, sometimes it's all 3. But you can't give up. Our gift from God is life. What we do with that life is our gift back to Him.
Ooh, you made me bring out my church rag, and you made me sing. Say it again.
And stop the blame game.
Ooh.
Don't give anybody that much power over you.
What you preaching up here on this Saturday morning? Preaching good. Keep preaching.
Yep. Because Denise, again, we know what we have, and it's a 2-edged sword, though. It is really a 2-edged sword, because with all the modern technology. I don't want to sound like a dinosaur, but with AI, with social media, all that, everything is instant. It's like even more than microwave, right? So we tend, and imposter syndrome is real, we tend to base our accomplishments on what we see online. This is individual. I did the same thing, girl. There was and you probably felt the same. There were times you like, how am I going to get these bills paid? I can't get these clients. I would have this flip chart paper on the floor in my house, and I have client number 1, and then it was like, I was like, so there was things that I needed to do. Mm-hmm. My husband and I, we are been married for 34 years this year. We have 2 sons, again, like my grandma, but we had, when we first started out, things were great. So we had that McMansion in Middletown with the pool and the vacation.
Not the McMansion.
Things you do, right? New cars. Right. And once that happened, make your decisions. Get rid of that house.
That's right.
Right? Cut back. You have to, we did that. We and there was a reason for that. Now, we have this ranch. We were living on pension, like Social Security and a full pension, all that. But we had to make that decision. So when we see our friend, not our friend, but we see people on social media who we went to school with, and they still live in large. So what? Live large, travel, go to Europe. I don't care. When I lay head to pillow, I'm comfortable.
Girl, say less. Say less. So talk a little bit about, so you kind of left off where they laid you on the second time. You took the package. What year was that?
That was 2015.
15. So, and you said you started blogging at 2012. So how did you, what did you do from there? You said you were blogging. So were you making money from your blog? Because I remember at in the early stages of, blogging, the way that you really made money from blogging was either you would get Google ads and you have the banners, or you would get, local businesses to take out ads on your site, or you get, just like today's social media influencers get sponsorships. It's basically the same thing. It was just, on page. So what were the ways that you were monetizing your blog?
That's a great question. Back in the day, before influencer marketing was like the thing, you would do product reviews. I would tell you, I did an ad. The ad is still on YouTube. I was flown to Hollywood, on Rodeo Drive. I did an advertisement for Depend.
Listen, did the check clear?
That's right. I got paid 5 G's plus, travel, food. It was all that. But yes, product reviews, card, whatever the case may be. But I also, Denise Renee, that's when I decided to become a social media manager, because I understood the importance of advertising your product and your service and your business. And my target market audience was those that were 55 and beyond. So there were a lot of those of us that are boomers that had businesses that were used to advertising on, newspapers, flyers, things like that. And the paper was going away. So they needed somebody that knew social media, knew the internet, knew Facebook. And, at that time it was Twitter and Instagram and all that. So that's what I was doing, as well as supplementing my blog. Yes, I was getting those paid affiliates, right? I signed up for affiliate links. If you click on this link, I get a percentage. But I was hustling, girl. I was literally seriously hustling, after those 32 years, cushy carpet, a job, but I had to hustle. So that's what I did. So I couldn't get a job at a grocery store, let alone, to pay a bill. And I prayed and I prayed and I pushed and I prayed and I cut back and we did all that. And I'm here to admit, we never missed a bill. I didn't even look at my checking account. I didn't look at my, credit card statement. I didn't look at any of that. I just knew. Now, of course, I had, working 32 years, I had some money in my 401k. There's things you got to do, right?
You gotta do.
Full cash from the sky. I had to give up something, right? So I was going, I had to get in there, and then I had to pay Uncle Sam for taking my own damn money. So,
we gonna keep moving on that one.
Yeah. So whatever. But so to answer your question, yes, I was taking on clients. I did a lot of networking at the local chambers, on social media, literally pushing myself, saying, this is who I am. This is what I do. And so I was able to, to do it that way. And the blogging, again, like you said, became like an influencer marketing. And then one day I was teaching blogging classes free at public libraries through Delaware Financial Literacy Institute. And a friend of mine said, Antionette, girl, those free days are over. You need to register a business and start charging for what you do. And that's what I did. I registered A Blake Enterprises. I paid my licensing, and then any speaking engagements or any teaching opportunities came with a paycheck.
Came with the paycheck. I love it. So you're out, you one of the things that I, shared in your bio there is just a lot of the community work and a lot of the community work that you do in organizations that you're a part of. So how did all of that experience, and you said you wrote your first book, was that during that pandemic or because of the pandemic? So get into the inspiration for that first book.
Okay, so the very first book, Basic Blogging Tips for Beginners, came after the pandemic. Why? Because this is what I was teaching. I was literally teaching basic blogging tips for beginners. That was the name of the course. And I was, and it started with what is a blog, how to write a blog, so forth and so on. So I literally took the slides that I was presenting in these classes and I put it in a book.
Real quick, I know you're enjoying today's conversation, but do you want to write a book that helps you get clients for your business, grows your audience, and expands your opportunities, but you don't know how to get started writing this type of a book that can help you produce these results? Even if you don't feel like an expert, the very act of writing a book will help position you as one. And there is a proven path forward that will help you get what you want. I put it all together for you in my 4 steps to book writing success. Visit www.writingwithdeniserenee.com/4 steps. Not only do you get the steps, but I also give you videos for each step, breaking them down so that you would know your actionable steps to follow to get started writing your book right away. So hit pause on this episode right now and head over to writingwithdeniserenee.com/4 steps to download, and then unpause so we can get back into this conversation.
So I literally took the slides that I was presenting in these classes and I put it in a book. And I searched at that time, I was searching for, and better than I, self-publishing companies, right? Which would be better, what was easy, because I didn't need any techie. I just needed someplace that I could upload this damn PDF, upload my cover art, and send and ship. And the sad thing is I should have did a little bit more research, because now, if you don't sell a certain amount of books, a certain amount of years, they kind of literally just, push it aside. So this book is no longer available online. Now I have plenty of copies.
You can make it back. You can make it available online.
They said I can.
Yeah. Well, you don't even have to go through them. I mean, if you have the copyright, you can upload it to Amazon, make it print on demand, and that's it.
But I have this, and it's so funny because I sometimes, like, if I go walking in the park, how they have those free libraries?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can go take a book, give a
book. Throw them in there.
That's all right. That's all right.
Yeah, but these, if I have speaking engagements or whatever, I will take them with me and I'll sell them. But yeah, this is actually, and then this is the teacher in me. This is what I taught, and every week, I think that the courses that I taught at Del Tech were like 4-week courses. So this is a 4-week course, and I probably need to go through it and see if there's any things I'd like to change. And I might do that. You've given me the incentive to do that. So this is the first book, and it's based on, thank you, Denise Renee. I will go back and I will look at it. And again, if you want to learn how to write a blog, I mean, there are some of us that like to write over talking. Right. And I know you can go to YouTube University, but there's something about it. And my generation, when we like the feel of paper, the turning of the pages, the first page is the beginning and the last page is the end. And you can look at all in between. When you're on like a tablet or something, you don't really know
where you are.
Yeah. Exactly. Right. So this is the basic blogging tips for beginners. So anyone who's ever thought about, writing a blog, this is it'll help you get from point A, to point B. So, my 3 C's and all that good stuff. So this is my baby, right?
So there's a couple of things I want to pick out, and then we're going to continue on and get to your second book and get to the Les Brown book. Okay, the flex that she's on page, was it 159 in that Les Brown?
Let's see, what page am I on?
What page you on again?
159.
Okay, so we're going to get there. Okay, so number one, I want to make a statement. I don't want to stay on it, but sometimes people, I think right around 2015, with like Periscope and Facebook and everything starting to use video, and it was like the video wars with Vine, Periscope, whatever, and then Instagram, and I think people shifted to social media and these platforms, and they're relying solely on these platforms for getting visibility and everything like that. But I think there's a swing and a shift back because so many things can happen on these platforms. Your account can be deleted, whatever. There is something, blogging is still a thing. And having your own website is still important because no one can take that away from you. So if anyone is watching this and thinking, why are we talking about blogging? Or why is it still relevant? Yes, it is. And the second thing I want to say is that you're kind of continuing a theme here. My last couple of episodes where I'm talking to business owners who their first books came from repurposing their content. So not only does it have to be video content, like one of my coaching clients, this book came from his video series, right? A couple of episodes back, Jillian, her first book came from her video series. Bridget, she started her first one. I think she pulled from her past blogs that she was writing on LinkedIn. And for you, you took your teaching content and repurposed it. So anyone who is like, I want to write a book, but I don't know where to start, go back to the content that you already have and let that inspire you to get moving. Now, the third thing, because this is the Sell Your Book podcast. So you mentioned that the publisher that you used, after a little while, you didn't sell as many as they were looking for, and they took it down, the bums. The bums. But let's go back. So you wrote it. So when did you publish it? And what did you do to begin to sell that book and bring awareness to that book?
And that's a great question. But before I answer that question, I want to go back to two things that you said: repurposing content, and is blogging dead? Now, the second part I've talked about so many times over the years. Blogging never is, never will be dead. And ownership of your content. Yes, there have been so many platforms. Remember what? blackplanet.com, MySpace, all these platforms. Then they came Facebook, Meta, Twitter, X, Clubhouse. I mean, all these free platforms can be taken in an instant, and all your content is gone. Gone.
Go
Bye. And if someone does a Google search, your blog post will pop up.
Hey.
not a Facebook post.
That's a great point. Your content within these platforms, I think the only platform where you might show up is Medium and
Reddit.
LinkedIn and Reddit. And guess what these platforms are? Text-based writing platforms. But anyway, we're not going to be on our soapbox. Yes, we will.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. And if you have content, if you are an author and your book is sitting on a shelf like mine did, that's when you turn it into what? A podcast.
Pivot. We ain't get there yet. I'm not ready for the podcast book just yet. But yes, finish your thought about blogging.
Your content, and if it's going to live forever, it's either going to be on YouTube, a podcast, or blog. And then, of course, like you said, articles on Medium and LinkedIn and Reddit. Those written content will never die. Never. I don't care how many smartphones, how many tablets, how many AI, how many what. People are going to be reading forever. My favorite episode of The Twilight Zone is Time Enough at Last, when he just wanted to read all the time. He read and the world ended, and he wanted to end his life, but he found a library. But the twist was the glasses fell off and broke, so he can't read. But you got to see that episode. I watch Twilight Zone a marathon. I watch it all the time, every year. Burgess Meredith was like my idol. Like, the Time Enough at Last. Google it, watch it.
It's probably on YouTube.
It's on YouTube. Yes, it's on YouTube. It'll be on YouTube forever. Rolling stuff will be on YouTube. Whatever.
Because Google is never going to die.
No, the written word will never die. And if you have content, you can repurpose it in a blog, extract. We're not going to get back to the podcast. But again, just like you said, Denise Renee, you have content. You're a good cook. You're a good singer. You're a good mom. You're a good auntie. You have triplets and you travel. What is it that you are so passionate about? Remember, like how I used to say, what is it that you could do and not get paid or whatever? So whatever that thing is, that's your passion. Turn that into a blog. Share that with others, and people will read it. And if they don't read it, then turn it into a podcast. That's what I do. That's whatever I write or whatever I podcast, I write on my blog. So if you don't like listening to my voice, you can read it. Right. So there's an option. I turn all my podcasts into blog posts. Because I have two, some people don't have time to read. Some people don't want to read, but you never know.
You never know. You make it available. Excuse me. So the other part of my question was, what did you do? Because this is the Sell Your Book podcast. So what did you do to start to promote the book and generate sales for the book? I know that you said you have now, you have copies and you take it with you when you're going speaking. But what were some things that you did to start to generate sales for the book and awareness for the book?
Well, again, using my blog, of course, that was an ad, right? If you go to my blog, you go to Dell Blog, I used to have that book on the side. You could click and order, or, Podcasting Your Purpose, you can click and order. But that, when you go networking events, when you go to speaking events, you always, you sell your book that way. I've done authors. We've had like authors roundtable. Like, I've signed up for that. It's like you get out there. And that was the last time I actually was able to sell my book prior to COVID. There's a young lady here called, her name is Taria Pritchett, and she put together a whole bunch of African-American authors at a Borders bookstore in Wilmington one year. And we all had a table and we all had our books and we did signings and we took pictures. It was just so much fun. Again,
it was like a moment for Borders, though. Like,
yes.
Oh, Borders, we miss you.
Let them know, tag them, y'all. But yes, we did that. Church events, in my sorority, when we have events, if they're, they set up tables, vendoring tables, that was another great way. I love to talk, obviously. So that when I was asked for speaking engagements, I would talk about blogging, and I'd bring my book and I have it at the table. So it was really a lot of in-person self-promotion. But of course, you always post on social media, have you ordered your book today? Or, you have it as an affiliate. So those are ways, to literally sell your book. Or the old-fashioned way, you got them in the trunk of your car. And it's like, okay, here I am. Hey, I got a book. Have you ever thought about it? But yeah, I did that. And then what I also did was I started creating authors events where I'd get a bunch of authors together, and they would come and set up their tables. And I would charge them, a couple of $30, something like that. And they could set up and they would bring their books, and I'd give them an opportunity to talk. And it would be like a community thing. So there's things you can do within your own community. Churches, there's churches, there's mosques, there's synagogues, there's libraries. Libraries are another great thing. Let them know you're an author and you'd like to, read excerpts from your book to whoever your target market audience is. And libraries are free. They're public libraries. So you're just going to reserve the room. You don't have to pay for it. Community centers, again, your sororities, your fraternities, whatever the case may be, there's a way to get yourself out there. Today we have this is we're on the end of, the summer cycle, and there's, book bashes and, back to school stuff. And you can do things like that for adults, depending on, what books you have. But yeah, there are so many different ways. You just sometimes have to think outside the box on how to sell your book.
So you sold most of your books through in-person methodologies rather than online sales.
Yeah, this one but this one was online. I would get the residual. I would get the check from them when books, but I would promote them on my blog or promote them at events. Oh, you got to check out, and I put them on my business card, the link to it as well. But yeah, I mean, that's the way to do it. And I was gung ho on that, doing that. And I think, authors know. I mean, when you're an author, right? Yeah, they come learn more from Denise Renee on how to promote your book. Don't ask me. She knows. She's the expert.
I am not the expert on selling books. No, I'm not. This is why I have this podcast. I talk to the people who are doing the daggone thing.
Go on a podcast to sell your book.
I'm talking to y'all because I have ghostwritten for clients. I've edited a bunch of manuscripts. I haven't published my first book just yet, but it's coming in a few months. So I was just like, I don't want to get up, even though I have experience in marketing in general. I'm like, I'm not gonna say I know how to market books. I know what I'm finna do, but
exactly.
I would rather have conversations with people who are doing it, and there's something to be learned from everyone. So I love it. I mean, you are very enmeshed in your community. You're very out there. I mean, your podcast is called Out and About with Antionette. She's out and she is about. Okay.
Right.
So if you're someone who's out and about, it's just leverage your networks. And this, this has been a current.
Yes.
And especially with my episode with Kimberly. That's it. 50 is showing her age because I've been wanting to say a name and it's there and it just won't come out. She rude. 50's rude, y'all. 50 rude, but she feisty. She rude, but she feisty. But anyway, okay. So let's get into your second book. What prompted you to write that? And then of course we got to circle back around to good old lesson. So what prompted you to write the second book?
The same concept, Denise Renee. I was teaching people how to podcast. And I had and I have the 5 to 6 week coaching course. And of course, I was doing it in person. There was a podcast studio that I was doing it in Middletown, and then COVID hit, and now it became a Zoom. So now the courses are online via Zoom. And again, it's just another way to get it out there. So the Podcasting Your Purpose resource guide. This is edition number 2. I have the first edition, which was really my basic, oh my God, let me just dump this stuff out of my head. And this is literally, again, the modules, module 1, getting started, all the way to module 7, pre and post launch checklist. This is what and then at the bottom it says podcasting your purpose coaching sessions. This is, if you don't want to talk to me, if you don't want to see me, this is the book for you. You know, you can learn how to do this. I mean, it's almost like, you know, you have to write it. You know, here's the question I asked. What equipment? Once I talk about equipment, then you write down what equipment you're going to be doing. So again, the teacher in me, or these are the manuals, you know, when I created 33 podcast marketing tips, you know, I put everything that I would teach in my coaching in a book. Why? Because way after I'm gone, this will still be here. Somebody may come across this book and go, oh my God, I remember the Delaware blogger. I remember, you know, Antionette Blake, CEO. Oh, you know, whatever. But the podcasting tips, you know, some people are introverts or they don't want to be on camera. And they're like, I just want to learn how to do this myself. You know, I don't want to talk to Antionette. Why you don't want to talk to me? That's fine. But this is a 7-step model: getting started, how to create, growing your podcast, monetizing your podcast, podcast partners, 33 podcast marketing tips, and your pre and post launch checklist. So this, you know, this book is a great resource. It's a great resource. It's 66 pages. It's, you know, designed by me. I thought it was pretty cute. See those cute little graphics I've created on Canva. You get this if you sign up for my coaching course. You get this book so that you can read it even after. And it's so funny. Here we even talk about Facebook group rules. You know, this is how old this is. It's like I need to update this because it's not even Facebook now. It's you know, Meta. They call them Meta groups, whatever. But
the principles though are still the same no matter what platform you're on. I mean, LinkedIn has groups. You know, anywhere there's a public forum, there's the group rules are still going to be.
And when we talk about pitching, like sponsors, think of those sponsors that you would want to, you know, have on your show and reach out to them. I think I even give you a sample letter on, you know, just cut and paste. How you, send your pitch, you know, how to do that. Here it is right here, sample podcast pitch email template, you know, before AI. Now you can do it in AI, right? But this was, again, I probably need to update it, but
listen, that's also the beauty about being self-published, because if you have something that's digital, you can go in and update it pretty quickly.
Yes.
And listen, a version 2, hello, keeping it updated with, you know, different platforms and different new methodologies, but the principles are always going to be the same.
And the first edition, so you know, so funny, was actually was PDF. I, you know, paid to make copies. I paid somebody to bind it. You know, you had to buy it literally, you know, in hand. And I learned, and I did that because I was a speaker at a social media event. I'm going to be a speaker at another social media event, Social Media Day Delaware, in October. But I was a speaker at Social Media Day in 2020, I think it was. And I said, this is the perfect opportunity to sell the books. Again, when you're a speaker and you're at a conference, you're going to promote yourself, right? You're going to ask your friend to come and man the table or whatever, or you walk around with the books like, oh, I got these books to sell. And, you know, people, and then you want to sign them, you know, it makes it personable. But yeah, so actually there should be an edition 3. You know, I may not. I'm just having a great time. I'm Denise Renee. I am enjoying being a guest on podcasts now, more so than doing my own podcast, even though I love podcasting. Don't get me wrong. I'll always podcast because I love talking and sharing. So I always have Out and About with Antionette. And now I've pivoted, and my podcast on Saturdays, new episode today, is Boomers and Beyond. It's just a lifestyle podcast for us that are over the age of 55, you know, lifestyle, health, fitness, you know, friendship, loss, you know, just everything. So that's, you know, it's about to give back.
I love it. So, okay, we got to get to Les Brown. How did you find yourself in a Les Brown book? Okay, tell us, because I know it's got to be, it has to be of all the networking that you do, of all the associations that you with, somebody must have gave you the hookup. Somebody said, I know somebody. And okay, go ahead. Flex on being in a Les Brown.
On social media, everybody's watching you. That's why it's so important. And I want my young people to know this. Listen, it's all fun and games until somebody gets hurt. So remember, whatever you put out on social media, it's going to last forever. So please, please, please. I know, you want to do all the latest TikTok, the challenges and stuff like that, but that's going to follow you. Okay. That's going to follow you. And it's not necessary to do that to make your mark, especially, you just can't, even if you delete it, it's still out there. So this actually, I was contacted by Dr. Patrick Busing, and he's an author out of Africa. And for some reason, he must have been following me and my podcasting and my blogging. And he reached out to 70, I know, right? In Africa. I'm in Delaware. And he reached out to me and he said to me, and I was still working, still in an office, I remember. And I got an email. And you know how you get emails like, who are these people?
Yeah, like,
well, he reached out to me and he said, I'm an author. I have these books. And he was legit. I looked him up and everything. So he wanted to get stories from people on Les Brown. He met Les Brown. He knew Les Brown, and he knew the impact that Les Brown had on so many people's lives. And Les is still out there impacting people's lives. He impacted my life, from forever. Like I said, from the early 80s, I was listening to him. Mamie Brown's baby boy. I've been listening to him forever. And he always impressed me. And he's himself. He never tried to compete with anybody. He was himself, right? He is who he is. And that's all there is to it, So when he told me, he said, I just want to know about you and how Les Brown, I think, because I actually might have wrote a blog post or something about how Les, how I listened to Les or whatever. But I was able to contribute to be one of the 77 people to contribute to his book. And this is before I had to wear glasses. I didn't start wearing glasses until I was like 55 or something like that. So this was before. But Les Brown was my travel companion. I would listen to Les in the car all the time. I even talk about when I start, and it's just a few pages. It's nothing long. It's just how he impressed me. And, even I wrote in here, in 1983, I started my career in corporate America with IBM after graduating from Delaware State College, blah, 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 blah. Became a secretary for IBM, blah, 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 blah. Not only was I intrigued that Mr. Les Brown was a motivational speaker, but that he was also an African-American motivational speaker, a rarity at the time, in the 80s. He was the only Black man that I ever saw come into new management school and speak to those executives for IBM. And again, like you said, Denise Renee, kids today don't know who IBM is.
No, they don't.
IBM was Apple. IBM was AI. IBM, they were, right? I remember the first personal computers, this big old thing, right? I was there. I listened to Les Brown on YouTube or read his books all the time. And I started listening to him again. And he actually, a little known fact, he actually married Gladys Knight, right? They're divorced now, but he married her in Canton, North Carolina. And that was my grandma's hometown, Canton, North Carolina.
Wait a minute. I'm sorry. I was choking off camera and I was drinking. He married Gladys Knight?
Yes, he did. He married Gladys Knight in her hometown of Canton, North Carolina. Now, they're divorced, so it didn't last long. Yes. Yep. But I often shared his anecdote thinking about Mamie Brown's baby boy. And he always said, you got to be hungry, right? And at 56, I was hungry and I had to push myself. And so at 56, after being laid off from IBM and starting all over again, Les Brown was my motivator. from the 80s up to the 2018. And I think that anybody that can do that in your life has to be special. So Denise Renee, that's why I said when I leave this world or I'm going on, I want people to say Antionette Blake, the Delaware blogger, changed my life in this way, because Les Brown changed my life. 70, I mean, he's changed so many lives, but it was an honor. It's an honor. See, this book is pretty thick. It is definitely an honor to be included in this book. So I want to say thank you, Dr. Patrick Bouches. He's the founder of the greatest university in the world, whatever, but you can check him out. This is a great book. I'm pretty sure it's still available, still out there, but it was so fun to just be able to write my little story, my little blurb, and to have this out there in perpetuity as well, right?
In perpetuity.
Yep.
Writing is forever.
Forever and ever.
I don't know if there's a better way to like put an end cap. Do you have like just a final thought on that you want to share about blogging, podcasting, writing books? Oh my goodness. This is one question that I failed to ask because I'm just so into the stories. How has your book impacted your business and your ability to get new clients for your courses, get new people to, help mentor and with their blogging and with their podcasting? How has writing your book impacted your business?
Well, thank you, Denise Renee. A book is the best business card out there. Back then, people were like, oh my God, you're an author. That doesn't matter if you contribute to a comic book. If you're an author, that holds a lot of weight. Just like now, have you noticed that people are really impressed by you because you have a podcast?
But it still holds weight. Putting out intellectual property in any way, shape, or form holds weight.
Because with a book and with a podcast, you're giving a piece of your inner self. From here, you're giving it out. That's special. That's really, you're literally undressing yourself for people. Mano y mano, one person reading your book, that relationship. One person listening to your podcast, just that earbud, that because the biggest sexual organ we have in our body is our brain. So you're plugged into their brain, right? You're having an intimate relationship with one person, with 10 people, with 100 people, with 1,000 people, with 10. It's still just mano y mano. So if you have something inside of you, write it out, speak it out, share it out. And people will look at you a little bit differently. I don't know what it is. It's just like, she's an author. He's an author. They're a podcaster. They must have something going on. I need to be a part of that. I need to be, I sign up for that course. I need to connect with that person. And it does. Again, books will always be around. I mean, books will always, different versions. I mean, how many versions of the Holy Bible are there? How many versions of the Holy Quran are out there? How many versions of the Torah are out there? It is written, rewritten, and rewritten, and it lasts forever. If you look at that, what is it? The Book of Eli with Denzel Washington.
Yeah.
The ultimate goal was to get all that information out of his head and back into a written, tangible format. That's what writing is. Taking this and leaving it in a tangible format for years and years to come.
I think you just gave me a clippable moment. So just like my adult book moment, you just gave me an adult moment over here for me to clip. But it's all good, but it's all true, right? It's all true. So I mean, I love what you said beautifully, but I'm gonna circle you back around to my question, and that was, how has writing your books has it made it easier for you to get clients and things like that? How has it impacted your business?
That's a really good question. Maybe it has, maybe it hasn't. I don't know. I mean, I think, when I've gone out and I've spoken or been at events and they know who I am, if I have a book, they feel like I has it impact. I mean, I don't know. I can't really honestly say if the being an author of these books or being a contributor to these other books have really increased my client base or not. I'm
Is it
going to say,
because you already are so enmeshed in networking in your community that like people kind of already know
yeah,
you
I
already?
think that's the case. And Denise Renee, I am a very proud boomer. I am so proud to be, almost 63 years old. I don't have to try as hard. Like, really? Because I have more years behind me than I have ahead of me. So it's like, this is me. I ain't got nothing to prove, right? You either in or out, period. So if you want to be my client, fine.
I get you.
If you don't, fine.
That's fine
I
too.
don't care. I'm getting paid. Look, I'm getting my Social Security for the rest of my life, so I don't care, right?
I'm done. I'm done. It's like,
And
I'm
it's
paying my
so
bills.
funny. It's so funny because I never thought about that before. When you're young, it's like, oh my God, I don't want to get old. I want to be this. I want to do this. But there's something about this. It's like, this is like the funnest age ever. I was reading something on social media the other day. If you could go back to high school, would you? No.
Hell no.
No.
Hell no. I don't even know if I'll go back 10 years. I'd be like, oh no.
There's things in your life you say, oh my God, why did I do that? Or I wish I had changed this. I mean, you could. I mean, if I could go back with the knowledge that I have now,
Right.
I'd sign up in a minute. But no. So yes, to answer your question, and for others, those that are listening, use your book as a way to give authority over what you are, good at, or what it is that you can help others. Because it's like, look, I got this book. I've written this book. I am helping other people learn. So I know what I'm talking about. And yes, it will help. I do really truly do believe that it will get you in places. You remember the episode from Girlfriends when Maya wrote her book, Oh Hell Yes, and she was selling it, on the streets out of her trunk of her car. And then somebody discovered her and figured, she was a great writer. And then come to find out she only had one book inside of her. But that one book was all she needed to get her from point A to point B. So use that one book, use that one, instructional manual and expand on it. But whatever it is, because we all have greatness in this. We all been born with a gift. Don't let anybody tell you you're not this, you're not that, you're from here. I grew up in the projects in New Rochelle, not far from the Bronx. So I know, right? I was, hey, who would have ever thunk? Here I am, So yeah, no, yes. The book will, I think, give you more credibility, which is a good way to get more clients.
Any last words, parting thoughts, anything you want to say to like cap it all off with the bun?
Thank you.
Thank you.
No, thank you, Denise Renee, because you are doing something and you are touching lives each and every day with everything that you're doing.
Don't make me cry.
You're doing it.
My eyeliner runs. So
yeah, I got some tissue. I got no tissues up in here, but I'm gonna give you a tissue. Here's my virtual tissue. Thank you for sharing your gift. You won't know who it is that you touched, when it'll happen, but sometime, somewhere, somehow,
that
you
is
can change somebody's life.
That is my my goal behind this podcast, and I just I have I have zero plans. I just was like, this idea had been in my head for a while. I watch or listen to a number of book writing podcasts, and they talk about the book writing process. And sometimes they get into the selling process, but a lot of them are really geared towards fiction writers. And I'm like, I don't really, see anybody in the like business book writing space, talking about writing and selling books, and how to do that, or just how people are doing that. And then the other thing is, I'm so used to seeing podcasts in general, business podcasts, talking to people who have, they're like the big celebrities, right? They're like the Les Browns. They've, been doing what they've been doing. They've been earning 6 and 7 figures and 8 figures. And those stories are great and those stories are inspiring. But we're catching them far along in their journey. And someone who's just starting out can feel like, that's great for them, but how do I get started? And a lot of times the beginning part gets lost in those stories. They don't tell you the years of struggle. They don't tell you, what are the things that they did to get started. They gloss over that and they're like, yeah, last year we made, $7 million, whatever. And they're like, that's cool, but how did you make your first dollar? How did you sell your first book? How do we do that? And so I just wanted to bring a conversation of, real people, real authors, real business owners, real professionals who are writing books and using it in their personal branding, in their business branding, and just telling the stories no matter where they are. I've had people on here who are, they're selling books out the wazoo. And then, like, I think I'm finishing editing an episode. I had just spoken to someone who had literally just published her 3rd book, and she was just in the very beginning stages of promoting. And just being able to have a conversation with someone who's at the beginning, in the middle, further along, I think that's valuable. So that's my hope, my manifesto. I haven't done the greatest job at promoting yet, so you're actually my last episode in this season. I decided to, let's give it a season. Let me give it a beat. Let me, actually promote the episodes that I have, because I've just been like rolling. I've just been recording. And I'm like, okay, I need to do, my guest justice and, just get the word out before I roll out like a season 2. Plus I needed a break. So, where it goes is where it goes, and amen. And who it touches is who it touches. And, I'm happy to do that. But I just felt like there was a gap in the marketplace. And so I'm just trying to fill it with a little on me and all of my wonderful and amazing guests. So thank you for coming on and sharing your story. And with that, y'all, I'll see you next season. But I am gonna put out some like best ofs or recap episodes for this season. But new episodes in 2020. I can't speak. New episodes in 2025 by God's grace. And if you have been loving this series and you have something to say or share, or share in the comments, or if you're watching on YouTube, like it or whatever platform you're on, let us know what you'd like to see coming up. I know what I'm planning for season 2. I want to talk to a little bit more industry people, and then of course to have more conversations like this. But let us know how you're liking the podcast, and we'll see you in 2025 by God's grace, y'all.